Welcome to the Film Gods podcast, everyone. This episode, I want to let you know about a great man who is feeding our doctors and nurses. Philip Juma, head chef and founder of Juma Kitchen, didn't want to put his incredible skills of making delicious food, and I've tasted it, it's amazing, to waste during lockdown. So when Borough Market closed its doors, he took it upon himself to feed our NHS staff. He's single-handedly making hundreds of meals for them every week. And if you want to help feed our heroes, go to jumakitchen.com. Yeah, I'm saying it again. That's jumakitchen.com and donate. Let's clap them on the Thursday and feed them on a Friday. Massive love and respect going out for Juma Kitchen.
Let's get started.
Hola, film family. I'm Isusko, your host, aka the Time Scheduler. Welcome to the Film Gods podcast, which is a chat with the best of the UK film crew who make all of those beautiful moving images you watch every day. I want to give a special thanks to Island Studios for the recording space. Thank you, Mark, Mitch, Pauline, and the whole team. And wherever you're listening, hope you enjoy. Big love. So, film family. Today, for me, this is the man, when it comes to my end in the industry, and I get asked on the Film Gods in 20 whatever, who do you want to give a shout out to? This will be the man who I owe my entire AD knowledge background, the absolute lot. So I'm loving that he's here. I'm loving that he's going to chat. You'll know him as a few different names, the Lion of Judah being my favorite, but to me, he's Capo Regime. So Capo Regime, tell the listeners what is your name and what you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean Cotter and I am a First Assistant Director.
Boom. So what does that mean to you? What is it that you do?
Well, a First Assistant Director, as a lot of people probably know, because I know you've had a lot of them on your podcast,
Yep.
is basically the person that organises the floor, organises the schedule, tries to get the storyboard and the paper script transformed from on the paper to it would have been filmed before, but now it's into the digital image.
Mm-hmm.
So much of it that they have a choice in the edit to get out the things that they have been trying to achieve.
Nice. And is that a job that you can just do straight away, or is there a route up? What's your story in?
Well, I think any craft you can do straight away. It's just a matter of how well you can do it straight away. I mean, there's been quite a lot of us that have jumped in a little bit earlier than we were ready.
Yeah.
I was listening to Jay Arthur's podcast, and it was really funny about how he jumped in. But I saw a bit of myself in that as well. I definitely went in a little bit underqualified.
Was that just the time was that just the environment and the time? There was just so much to do, and there were so many opportunities, or?
No, I don't think it was that there were so many opportunities. It's just sliding doors, It's just you happen to be in a room and someone said, we need one of those, you'll do. And that was really how it worked. I started working with people who were my age and were a little bit have-a-go heroes as well. And we kind of moved on quite rapidly together. And and we were quite inexperienced, but we were very enthusiastic, and enthusiasm will get you through things.
Yeah.
As long as they're not too complicated and you don't mess them up too badly. I think one of the advantages was there was a bit more money then, so mistakes could be made. And because directors are a little bit wilder, the agencies and clients didn't necessarily know that what they'd just seen was a big mistake. They thought it might have just been an experiment in trying to do something that didn't quite work out. And that worked in our favour.
Nice. And was ADing it? Is that where the starting point was, or did you come in from a different angle? There's a kind of few people that have been like, oh, I started off in the post house, or I started off as this, that, and the other. Where was your?
I was in the fruit and veg game for years and years and years, and I had a stall, and I used to deliver stuff to restaurants. I was pretty good at it and made quite a good living at it. At the same time, I was trying to write things and be a writer. Theatre was my first love more than film, which I know sounds a bit funny, but yeah, I love theatre.
So would you write scripts for theatre? Was that where you?
Yeah. Write scripts and then some telly stuff and bits and pieces. Anyway, I ended up getting an agent and getting a commission and some stuff optioned, and
Mm-hmm.
went to America. I used to write with my brother, who was a far better writer than I am. I
Right.
think that's probably how we got most of the commissions. But anyway, so we went off as this writing duo. We had a really good agent, it's Duncan Heath, and they were big agency. They got bought by ICM, which is a big American agency, and they said, "Why don't you come to America and come and pitch some scripts in LA?" So I went to do that for about 6 months or a year. And it was great,
fun times.
it was fun, but it was weird. It was LA, and you either get on with LA or you don't. I find it quite interesting, but we did tend to knock about with a load of English people all the time, so maybe we didn't really get into the full swing of LA. But
And did you shoot? Did you have some? Yeah, did you get a script made? Were you out there shooting?
No, not in LA. No, we had things done in the UK, but only small things. But we were very close, and we pitched big people. Big people. We had a lot of doors open to us, but we weren't making any money.
Yeah. And
that was a problem, because we were in LA and we didn't have any money. And LA with no money is, no money, no honey. It's not a great place to be. So I had friends who were out there producing music videos. Funnily enough, people from England.
Nice.
And they'd say, come along, and you can, be a PA, they call it in America, but that's a runner. And you get $1.25, which is like $125.
Nice.
And
you knew them; they were in the industry before. So were you in the industry here before, or is it just the writing?
No.
Just friends
First
from
time
around
I was
the way.
ever on a film set was there in LA. Yeah. And I was, I was quite old as a runner, and then I didn't really fancy staying in LA, so we came back to London, and I had a choice. I could go back to the fruit and veg game, or I could, try and stay in the film industry, because I really liked it. I liked the idea. I liked the idea of still writing. I like films. I like the excitement bit. And, I started being a runner in London, and that's kind of where I did it. And I was 27, oldest runner in town.
Oh, okay.
It felt like that. I'd had my own business, and, it'd been quite good.
Is it tough to come in at that age and have been a business owner, and suddenly you're kind of surrounded by, I assume, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that don't have as much life experience? You're like, why am I doing the same? Like, it's like, I can do that job.
And you're being told to do things, and you're being told to do things that don't make any sense, and told to be doing things backwards. And but you get on with it, and luckily I dropped in with a few people quite early. And someone was stuck, and they said, "Oh, we need someone to look after the kids on this job. Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." The next time they said, "Oh, you do it again," and that was about job 9, and I was down on the call sheet as second assistant, which was
there you go.
quite funny. But, and then I just sort of, I was still running, but I was just doing everything I could. But, there were in-house jobs. I was in-house at RSA. I did stuff at Rose Hackney. Some of the big old companies. I worked in those places, and you could learn a lot from those people.
So, what can those new film students that are going into production companies, what is it that they need to be doing to stand out? If you're, I guess, being a first AD, we'll ask that question about what they can do on set, but that experience that you had in-house, did you learn anything that helped you on set?
You learn a little bit about what people do before you get there. If you're going to learn anything, something that's really important for crew to learn is that you don't just turn up on the shoot day and it all happens. There's a lot of stuff that has to go on before you get to that point. There's an awful lot of work that, lots of decisions have to be made. And, it's very easy to stand on the set in the morning going, "Oh, this is bloody stupid. Why are we doing it like this?" But there's so many conversations that happen that you're not aware of. It's not really a help to you if you get into all of that. And one of the things you see in offices is you see the way that, especially if you work in commercials, which I work in, you see the way that projects are pulled from one way to the other. And sometimes the director is stuck in a position where they're getting pushed into a place where they don't want to be with the project. But the clients won't really understand that the whole train is going the wrong way until they see it. They can't be told, they have to see it. So you end up doing things that really are a waste of time. But they're only a waste of time from your point of view because you're sitting there doing it, but actually it may be taking you to a better place for the whole project all in.
Nice. And what is your, I kind of asked the question from pencil to invoice. At what point do you come in as a first AD on commercial projects?
Well, some people I know really well and I've worked with for a long time, and some producers will ring me up very early on in the process, before there's a pencil, and say, I've got this job and we're trying to do whatever they're trying to do. Have you ever done anything like that before? And I've done over 1,000 commercials, so I've done a lot of different shots. And if so I might tell them, yeah, what we did is we did this, but you have to watch out for the tide, or you have to watch out for the, all in the desert, all the moths attacking the lights at night. It's hard to shoot in the night. There's all kinds of things. It's experiential. If you're on the beach, make sure there's no sand flies, or many, many things that you just learn by disaster. So that happens sometimes, but mostly what happens is I have a diary service. And I think people probably know what a diary service is. I think you said that on the other things. And, people will ring up and say, is Sean available on these dates? And they'll pencil me in. And really, sometimes they'll send me a script at the penciling stage. I'll be honest, I don't really pay that much attention to it if they just send it to me. If they ring me and ask me something specific, I'll have a look at it. And then once I'm confirmed, I'm kind of on the job. So depending on what it is, if there's, it could be a 5-day job with lots and lots of different locations, or it could be two Wallies in a kitchen, which doesn't necessarily take up too much, prep.
I like you change that. So, ladies and gents, just so you know, Sean, there was a few first ADs. So when I first started these podcasts, and I was nervous as hell, and I didn't know who I was going to talk to, and I didn't know where we were going to go, I spoke to kind of the 3 close ADs around me. So we've had this kind of chat before, but I'm loving that it's all new, and I appreciate that we've changed the change to Wally's in a kitchen. So I just in case you all wondering, why is he laughing at that? There's a bit of a backstory to that. So now these 2 Wallies in a kitchen, are they simple shoots to do? Is it something that you look at a storyboard and you go, are you looking for problems and solutions before you've even turned up on a recce?
Yes, always looking for problems. That's my job. I'm the problem searcher, which is pretty tricky, especially if you don't know people. When you turn up and you say, this is going to be tricky, that's going to be hard, that might not work, but you see, you have to do it in a way that you're not being negative. But it's really simple, because whether it is 2 Wallies in a kitchen or the entire cast of Zulu, with all of that entails, you basically got a big group of people that you have to take on this massive exodus, whether that's physically moving around or just achieving all of these different things, and you have to just try and work out the most efficient way to do that. Efficient in a holistic sense. So there is always the most efficient way to shoot something. Start with the wide, go closer, shoot everything in one direction, turn around, schedule your lighting changes so that they happen at lunchtime, etc. That's not always the best way to shoot something. There may be an intimate scene, and the director would prefer to do the close-ups first, because that's where all the performances are going to be, and you don't want to lose it in the wide shots. And then when you come in, it's all become a little bit stale. Lots and lots of different ways. So
do you ask a director what they'd like to do at that point, or just from experience,
absolutely,
do you say to a director, oh, do you want to shoot it this way?
It depends if I'm trying to be clever or not. And if you work with people a lot, you kind of know how they're going to want to do it. You don't always know, but you're going to kind of know how people want to do it. So it's about I use the analogy of driving a bus.
Nice.
I know you've heard this before.
The
wheels on the bus go round and round. A film crew and the artist, everyone is a journey on a bus, and that bus goes from one place to the other. It has a journey, and on that journey it picks people up and it drops people off, and it has to hit certain stops at certain times, because it could be, if you're on location, it could be to do with light. All of these things, all of them have to be taken into account. And what you have to do if you're an AD is you have to try and make sure that the bus is where it needs to be at the right time. But more importantly than that, you need to make sure that everyone who's on the bus or is going to get on the bus or is going to get off the bus knows. That's the most important thing. Oh,
they call it murder.
Murder, yes, So the most important thing is, though, that every single person on the bus who's on it, is going to get on it, or is going to get off of it, knows. They need to know what they're going to do, what they're expected to do, when they're going to do it. Right? You need to make sure they've got the right ticket, that they've got their bag, they've got their map. Everyone needs to know what's going on. And the other thing they all need to be is they need to be ready for diversions, because every now and then the bus is going to go try and turn left and there's going to be a breakdown. Something's going to be in the way. So you're going to have to go, right, okay, now what's the best way for us to get to the next stop? Or do we skip the next stop and go to the one after and then back round? These are the things you need to do. And that's basically what I try and do.
And how does that decision process work on a commercial? Is it just, I'm the first AD, this is broken, we need to go that way, everyone let's go? Or does there need to be a conversation higher up the chain to go, look?
Oh no, always a conversation. And also, I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm not the person that makes all the decisions. I'm not the person that says this is the best thing to do. I say, in my opinion, this is the best thing to do, but there could be something that I'm not taking into consideration. There could be lots of things, and I could miss something. And there's definitely. And the other thing is going back to the bus analogy, you're going from your depot in the morning to your destination. There's no point in getting to the next destination really quickly if you miss a couple of the stops. Right? So you can start going, oh, this is really good. We're ahead. Let's stay ahead. But it's not necessarily the thing to do. You have to make sure that you tick all of the boxes along the way. Some of the stops you don't know about. That's my bus analogy.
Love it. Ding, ding. Who's driving the bus?
I am.
Nice.
I'm driving the bus, and I've got the little speaker. Where I'm saying, Clapham Common next station, all change.
And I guess for film students who have never really been on a full working set, how in advance are you trying to think as a first AD? Are you kind of thinking about the whole day in the morning? Is it just the next shot? How does it work?
It depends which department you're talking about.
Okay.
So if you give people too much information and they start to get too far ahead, if you have a diversion, they've got their traffic already stacked up.
Yeah.
So you have to think about where. So the art department should know if you're going to move, if you're going to change sets.
Yep.
And people should know which people you're going to have up next in the scene. But what happens is if people, you mustn't let people think it's set in stone, because what people will do is they'll start making a decision based on them thinking they know what's going to happen next. And as we all know, things change quite rapidly. So you have to give people as much information as you can, but don't let them go off and do things before they need to be done.
Nice.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I like the bus analogy because it does make sense that me as a second, it's like you've already driven off and I'm getting people ready at the thing, and knowing all the information.
You have to meet me at the stop.
I got to meet you at the stop, and it's like, when are we doing it? Okay, this is the point. This is the time.
I want the 2 Wallies at the second stop. Simple as that.
I love these 2 guys. They're great to work with. Now, we went very quickly through your kind of starting process, but I just want to try and find out if there's anything more in there that we can dig away at and that is useful. It's just like being a writer, getting on set. Did you just do the getting on set so that you could be a writer? Was there a point when you were running that you went, I want to be an AD? That's me. Or did you think, I want to be a writer and I'm just it's like...
No. I think as a runner, I was just seeing where I was going to go, and most people, not all, but most people start as a runner, and then they find where they want to go. I just found where, I talk a lot.
That's how we get on.
So AD is probably the thing to do. Keeping quiet and watching isn't really my thing. So it's and being involved makes time go quick too. Yeah. So I just sort of followed. I got let to be a second assistant early, but I was a second assistant for a long time. I didn't go first in ridiculous. Well, I did go a little bit early, but when you're a second, then your first assistant will go, right, I'm going off, hold the floor. Those things. I remember the first time that ever happened to me. Those things you really remember because it's really nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
it's really, really nerve-wracking. But
and where'd you get that experience? Is that promos? Is it commercials? Are you doing short film? Like, what was the?
I've done some promos. In the early days, I did some promos, mostly commercials. I've done short films, with people, done little short films, a few little dramas, but commercials. And it's experiential. Besides common sense, which we all know isn't that common, it's a very experiential thing. So,
we kind of brushed past how you got in and I just want to kind of delve back into that world again. And it's like, are there any lessons that you learn as a second that then you went, oh yeah, I'm going to steal that when I'm first in? Or I know that's a good experience to have seen. Or
I think that that you learn most of your trade as a second assistant.
Yeah,
I think that's when you learn to be confident on the floor, and you not only are you really busy and you look after all the glamour, and if you're a good second assistant and you work out what you're going to do tomorrow and you get to look at what you're going to do tomorrow so you get ahead of the game, you also get a chance to look at what everyone else does. And if you stand and watch and you've got good people to watch, you will learn things. And I'm a very firm believer in telling people why I do things, because I often do things and people aren't quite sure why I've done it. And they'll always try and tell you or the runners, I'm doing this because, so they understand. I think you're always learning. You're always learning. I'm learning all the time. I'm still learning all the time. There's loads of things I haven't done. There's loads of things that every job that you do, if you don't look back over it and go, ooh, do you know what? I could have done that, or that maybe it would have been better to have done it that way. And that's not because you knew better before. It's because you look back and you know better now.
And were you looking at storyboards and all the rest of it as a second, going, oh, I wonder how the day's going to work? Do you start to prep? Are you helping your first AD in the scheduling process before you get onto set? And how much?
If you're good.
Yeah.
If you're good. If you know what's going on, it makes it a lot easier for you to understand everything that's happening in the process. And also, you can stop me stepping into the holes. There's lots of things that can go wrong. There's loads of things that can go wrong. The communication, people, it's multi-episodic. People in lots of different scenes in the same film, and they could have all different wardrobes on, and it could go wrong. Which wardrobe they're in? It could be the wrong one. And it doesn't work for whatever reason. And it might not be clear in the scene that you're filming that it's going to become a problem in the later scene because you're not aware of what happens in the film. If you know what happens in the film and there's a gag to do with the tie or something, then you understand what's going on. If you don't know that, if you haven't read the storyboard and you're just going, Charlie, Brenda, and Bill need to be in that, in the kitchen scene, and then Bill and Eamon are going to be out in the garden, and you don't know what they're going to be doing in that kitchen scene, then you're not going to know as much as you need to know, and you're not going to be able to save me.
Now, what are the best runners that you've had on the floor? What is it that they did? What is it that they had about them? For that next generation that are coming up, what is it that a great runner should be looking to do?
Well, I'd recommend people listen to Jess on the podcast. Yes. She was really, really good. She was really, really good, and she really nailed it. and it's quite a lot. And to be perfectly honest, I'm so lucky I've got such good runners that they know what they need to do. And it's a big help for me, because it means I don't really even have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, but what I would say is, in every single department, no matter what you're doing, runner, anywhere, you want to be the best, right? And by the best, I don't mean you have to be your best. You don't have to be, you know, the fastest, the funniest, the whatever it is. You have to be the best that you can be. And that means that you do as much as you can do. And I know that sounds a little bit, you know, a bit hippie-ish, but your personality is so important on a film set. It's so important that you are you, and that you don't chop and change for different people, and, you know, say, oh, this person likes people who are shouty, this person likes people who are, you know, different things. You just can't do that. So, you know, what you have to do in all these things, and this goes for runner, camera people, ADs, wardrobe, sparks, is you latch onto the sort of people that you like to work with and like to work with you. As you go in, obviously when you're starting, it's not possible to do that. But once you get in a team of people, that's when it really starts to work. That's when the process really, really starts to work, because you can enjoy it. You can enjoy yourself, and you're working as a team, and it really makes a big difference. It's really tricky, because, you know, what I'd say about runners is persevere. Just persevere all the time. The very obvious ones are, these are things that I was told when I first started by people. There's really simple ones. Don't say anything if you've got nothing to say, right? Don't think anyone needs to hear your voice just because you need to be hearing your voice. You do not need to do that on the film set, right? Ever. Don't point out something that's gone wrong if there's no way to put it right, right? Don't do that.
Nice.
That's just bringing in negativity. Was something that we didn't do, and today there's nothing we can do about it, right?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Unless it's a continuity thing and you can do something about it. But if there's nothing you can do about it, don't say anything. Remember, no one knows everything, right? So having said that, don't say anything if you've got nothing to say. Don't talk about something you can't fix. If you have got something to say, and it does make sense to you, say it, right? But maybe say it, if you've got something to say to the first AD, just go and say it to the first AD. Don't shout it out across the room. Don't try and be clever about it.
Yeah.
If it's a good first AD and you come up with a good solution, they're going to say, someone's going to go, that was great. And they're going to go, Tony told me that. That was Tony's idea.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and that's what they'll do. But don't try and be clever. Just be clever. You know, that's, you know, it's one of those things. I heard a great story the other day, and it was a documentary. It was about the Intercity 125, when British Rail were trying to develop this train. I might have told you this before.
No, I haven't heard it.
So, they got all these engineers, like massive engineers, people that came out of the war, you know, proper engineers, British, when we used to make things in this country.
Yeah.
And they were working on the Pedalino train, which they sold to the Italians, but it was a British idea in the beginning. God knows where they got Pedalino from.
It sounds like an Italian name anyway.
Yeah, it does. I think they probably changed it. And so they were having all these things. They needed to get a train up to 100 miles an hour, and they couldn't crack it. And they had a great big seminar, and they allowed some engineering students, to come in from some college. And they had the whole thing, 2 hours, and how they were going to redesign the diesel engine and do all this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. And they said, any questions? One of the students put his hands up. He said, couldn't you just put another engine at the back of the train?
The whole floor just went silent.
Guess what? You could put another engine at the back of the train. Guess what? The train would go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, no one knows everything. And, you know,
love that.
If something sounds, you know, really obvious to you, it doesn't mean that everyone else has thought of it. So, you know.
Yeah, but there are sometimes there's those things you go like, surely that's just too, you know, maybe someone next to him went, oh, how the fuck? I thought that 2 months ago.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you go on location and the director and the producer are staying up late drinking and you're shooting tomorrow, go to bed.
Now, that sounds like it's come from experience.
Go to bed. Don't be there.
Don't be the guy that they're, girl that they're knocking at 6 o'clock in the
there.
morning to knock on the door. Especially when you're running as well, and you're, used to drive, and very sensible.
Don't tell your first assistant that you do DJing on the side and you were up till 4 o'clock in the morning last night in some club. Who one of my very favourite runners of all time told me that on our second job. And, I loved him to death, so I just laughed and told him that's probably not a good idea to tell me that.
You can just say, "Why you look tired?"
He's in the camera department. He's in the camera department now.
Do what he wants. Oh, God. Now, are there other little stories like that? Have you got any? Too many?
Stories.
I like the second AD one. I like the second AD one.
Let's see. Just one of the other things. I wanted to go back to things you should never do. Yes. And this isn't just as a runner. This is an AD's thing.
Okay.
Something you should never do. When you're on the floor or on location or whatever you're doing, often things go wrong and they're not working. And it can be for lots of reasons, because people haven't really thought about what they're doing, whatever, it's not working. And the director really starts to get the hump.
Yeah.
Never join in.
Nice.
Never, ever join in. All right. Because they get negative and they start going, I can't believe they didn't do that. I told them they wanted to do this. And if you just go, yeah, I can't believe it. I don't know what's wrong with them. It just escalates.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and worse and worse.
How do you can step out of that?
I usually say, when it's really obvious, I say, do you know what? I totally agree with you, but now I don't really want to get into that. I want to try and get us out of it rather than get us into it a bit more.
Yeah, nice.
Right? And it's not that I disagree with you. It's just I need to concentrate on how we're going to make it work, not why it's not working.
That's really good, because there's going to be a lot of second ADs that step up and do a promo, and you're on a job that doesn't have the money, and the director does start getting a little bit frustrated. And I guess you do tend to kind of go, well, fuck, he's the boss, and someday you go, oh yeah, I can't believe it. But actually you're right, that can just spiral into more negative.
And also then they can start really having a problem about the art department or something. And then everything they do, they're after them for everything. They're just after them for everything. Sometimes they'll do it anyway, but you don't want to get into that. That's all for after. There's no time for that on the day. It's just a waste of time.
How much of the problem solving goes to the director? Is it, I guess if you told the creative top of the triangle all of the little nuances and everything that's going, you probably wouldn't have much time to shoot.
Depends who they are.
Yeah.
Depends who they are, and I don't want to say really good ones, because you don't have to know everything to be really good. Some people are aware of everything that's going on. Some people are aware of nothing that's going on. But it doesn't really matter if they're doing what they need to do and they're letting you get on with it. What you don't want is people who are selective about what they know and what they don't know. So and it's all a little bit of a tightrope thing to you have to walk this line, a bit like Johnny Cash.
All right. And how quickly do you suss that out? If this is just your first time with a director, are you just reading the room really quickly about, okay, this, I don't think, I'm going to get on, I'm not going to get on, I can tell them this, I can't tell them that? Or do you just kind of put feelers out?
It's good to have a recce, as you can usually tell on a recce. There's things that are very, very obvious, and I don't try and manipulate my directors at all. But there are conversations that you can have, and sometimes you can know very quickly if someone's going to be, how someone's going to react and behave on the floor. What they want to know, what they don't want to know, what's important, what's not
Nice. Did you
to
ever
them.
think about directing when you were
No,
in the writing stage? Just nothing
no,
producing, nothing else. It was kind of
no.
this was it. It was ADing.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. 18's good. You're in, you're out.
Yeah.
You know, my little bus journey. Making the film is going from California to London. Route 66. There's I might drive the bus, but then they got to get on a plane. And there's all stuff they've got to do before that. The shooting part's just a small part of the whole process.
Yeah.
So it's nice because you don't have to. When you call wrap, you're gone.
As
Yeah,
as the floor changed over the last
massively,
little bit, over the last few years.
massively. Yeah, massively. Yeah. Yeah, and it's changed, some for the good, some for the bad. The discipline's really funny because it sounds like a really old-fashioned word. The digital has made a lot of the discipline go, because
that
everyone
process.
had to be concentrating when you were shooting because it was so expensive when the film was going through the camera. Everyone had to really concentrate.
Yeah.
That's kind of a shame. Mobile phones have really changed the business, because people are constantly on their phones. They are used as a tool. So again, it's used as a tool. You can send me pictures of people in wardrobe and I can show them to the director when you're at base and they can see them and say, does that work? That's a good use of the phone.
Yeah.
People be on TikTok watching things, or gambling or looking at houses or looking at the stock market or whatever, when they should be concentrating on the level of the smoke on the set. That's not so good. So, that's changed an awful lot.
I remember you saying it's like wardrobe, used to have binoculars and they used to, it's like they used to have
makeup
to watch,
and wardrobe. Yeah. They used to watch. They didn't look at a monitor. Yeah. They'd find a place and they'd watch. Yeah, and they'd watch, and you'd never walk in front of the camera lens without saying crossing, ever. It was a courtesy, and what it does is it's a funny thing, that crossing, because people have a lot of opinions about it. But what it means is it means you're aware that you're doing it, right? And if you keep saying crossing, 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 you're probably in the wrong place, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Right? It's a way of letting you know if you're aware of it, and it lets the cameraman know, because every time if he's looking through, or she, obviously, if they're looking through the lens and, someone keeps crossing in front of them, it's really distracting.
Yeah.
It's really, really distracting. So, it's letting them know that you're aware of what they're trying to do. Those things are quite important. But the good side of it is, camera department used to be alchemy, not with everyone, but it was this great secret thing that happened, and it was all important. Obviously you need the camera department, they're vitally important to what we do, but now everyone can see what's going on, and the way the lights are so much more sophisticated and easier to rig, and everything's changed in that department, and we have a lot more women, a lot more people from ethnic backgrounds, but not nearly enough. But we do have a lot more people in those roles, and that's all a very positive thing. A lot more female directors, which is a great bonus, because we're making films only using half of the world's experience before they came along, and now we're utilising the other half of the world's experience. And I don't mean people are completely different if they're male and female, but people see things from a different, and your gender, I think, makes quite a difference to the way you see things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's really opened up the amount of stories and things that we can look into and show.
Nice. Now, shooting on film, the process having changed and adapted, what could film students that have got, a camera in their pocket, what can they be doing to kind of get ahead? Should they just go out and just film whatever they can? Or should they try and get onto film sets and learn the language? Or is it just like, it's like some artists just don't even learn about art and just go and make up whatever they want?
But that's not necessarily a craft. And film is a craft with an art spearhead. There's a craft to it. A film director is like an architect who has a vision, and they have to pull lots of different people in together in order to achieve that. You can conceive of this great building, but you can't build it. And it's the same with a film. You can conceive of it, but you can't do all of those things yourself. You need you need that bus.
Yeah.
We need to get on that bus.
Yeah.
So, but anyone who wants to be making films, if someone wants to be a producer, good thing, but cameraman, director, anything like that, if you want to work out how film works, go and make a film. Make a film of yourself doing the washing up. Make a film of someone going out in the morning and putting their keys in the car and starting the car, right?
Yeah.
You'll start to learn about how you cut it together, what you need to know. Those things, it's a craft. And like all crafts, it's like when you first learn to drive a car, and you're there and they're going, right, prepare, observe, maneuver, look back, indicate, clutch, pedal. There's all these things to do, and there's so many. It's so hard to conceive of it. When you've been doing it for a while, you can smoke a cigarette, change the radio, have a headset on, drive away. You're not even really paying any attention. You are looking at the other traffic, but it all becomes so natural. The driving part is so easy for you to be able to concentrate on other things. And that is because you've done it loads and loads and loads. It's not because you're a genius, it's because you've done it loads and loads and loads.
Now that's a great, as you were talking there, I really wanted to ask that question of people start learning to drive and they don't know what they're doing and they're super aware and they're overthinking everything. Once they then get comfortable, and they can get a little complacent. That's where accidents happen. And it's like, as a first AD, that complacency, are there things that are always kind of set a trigger off that you go, right, okay, we need to back off, slow down. This needs to be done. Are there things that you as a first AD, suddenly it's like, right, we can't drive this bus 100 miles an hour because I've got this, and this. So we're going to go at, the speed limit.
Yeah,
what kind of things, what kind of things just set a little spider sense?
Well, safety is the most important thing, because you have to make sure a film set is a factory floor, and we actually are under health and safety law and labour law. We are a factory. We're under the Factories Act. You have to, we have big bits of machinery. We have darkened areas. We have people working, late, long hours, lots of concentration. You have to be very, very careful that you don't get so carried away that someone gets hurt. A director, myopic is probably the wrong word, but it's an easy way to describe that they are looking down this tunnel at what they're trying to achieve. My job is to get them to achieve what's down that tunnel. But what I have to do is I have to look at what's on the outside of that tunnel as well and make sure that nothing smashes and nothing goes wrong. So everyone wants to achieve as much as they possibly can, and sometimes they might want to be trying to achieve more than they possibly can in the time permitted or the time allowed, or just the daylight, because sometimes it's not a matter of just going longer because the big light is going to go to America and it's not going to come back till tomorrow. So there's nothing you can do about that. So that's just the way it works.
That's it.
And it's when you're trying to go too fast that things go wrong, or when you don't test things, or and often as a first assistant, people think, oh bloody, do we really have to do all this? Do we have to test that? You go up slowly, faster. Let's just go really fast. It's like, no, and there's a way to do it. If people are experienced, they tend to understand. If they're not experienced and they're letting you do their job, they tend to watch and understand. And if they're not, it just all becomes a little bit, that's what it is.
And you've now, you've been doing it and you've been at the top and you've been a first AD for X amount of years. You looking back at a point in your life coming into the industry, would there be something that you'd turn around to yourself and you go, right, Sean, sit down, listen to me for 5 minutes. I want to tell you that da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What would the da-da-da-da be?
Well, there's probably these things I shouldn't have done.
Hey, we learn from
things I should have done.
That advice to the younger self, what would it be?
I think a lot of it is. The kind of things I was saying about, don't speak if you've got nothing to say. Don't point out mistakes you can't do. Don't moan along with the boss. I think one of the really important things is don't ever pigeonhole or underestimate people.
Nice.
Because you can come very unstuck doing that. Thinking that you know what someone's going to do or how much they know, or thinking that you're definitely right about something until you've really listened to what someone else has to say. It's really easy to do. I did a lot of Saturday jobs when I was young, and I did one. I worked in a butcher's, and it was only small, and I remember once we were packing everything away, and we had to get out. It's Saturday. Let's get out of here. Let's get done. And there's not all that much left on Saturday anyway. We're sticking everything in the fridge, and it's like the last little bit, and it's gone there. And this little old lady just pops in under the, the little shutter thing. Yeah. Just pops in under the shutter. Like, Hello, Mrs. Johnson. Hello, son. You're all right, Mrs. Johnson. Silly old moo, right? So, I need a chicken. I don't think we've got any, Mrs. Johnson. She goes, I have to have a chicken. We've got the family coming round. I have to have a chicken. I'll go and everything's in the fridge. I'll go and have a look. Right. So you go in, open up the fridge, and there's like one chicken, and it's right at the back. There's only one left. Right. So you go, all right. So you reach in and you get the chicken and you bring it out and you go, there you go, my love. Nice chicken. She goes, oh, I wanted one a little bit bigger. You go, you think, silly old moo, right? Don't tell the truth. Don't say that's the last one. Hang on a sec, right? Silly old cats. Go back in the back and you just start slapping it about a bit. Make it bigger, make the chicken look bigger. So you come out and you put it on the counter and you go, yeah, that one looks a little bit bigger, doesn't it, Mrs. Johnson? And she looks you right in the eye, right? And she sussed you, right? She sussed you. She goes, all right, love, I'll have them both. Right? Don't underestimate anyone, because they will end up, they will end up getting you, making you in big trouble. But I guess the biggest rule in being an AD and being on any film set, I think the golden rule is never, ever pretend to understand if you don't.
Boom.
Right? Never do that. Never do that. So someone says, yeah, I want you to go away and ellipse record the artist on the right. And you go, all right. And you're walking away going, what the fuck does that mean? Right? You walked away, right, without going, I'm not quite sure what ellipse record means. The person goes, no, go and get the person to move 2 steps to the left who's on camera right. But you've just gone, without understanding what they've said. That's a really big mistake. Even when, everyone else has understood what ellipse record means. Right? Even when it looks like everyone in the room knows what they're talking about, but you don't. You have to go, excuse me, I don't know what that means.
I'm so sorry, explain it.
Yeah. That's a big rule.
Yeah, well, if you don't do it, there's only one thing that's going to happen. They're going to ask for 2 chickens.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so never ever pretend to understand.
Nice. And have you got? Is there any little stories like Mrs. Johnson, film related?
Well, I've had a few funny stories. I had one once where I was doing let's start talking about famous people. So I was doing the job. I was second assistant. I was doing the job with Jerry Seinfeld. And he was massive. He was at the top of his thing. They were trying to give him $100 million a show, and it was an American Express job. And he came over from America. They brought him over in a private jet. And he was doing this thing where he was in all these typically English situations where the language was different. People didn't understand, and and he was a superstar, Jerry Seinfeld, and it was 3 days, I think, or 4 days, And on the second night, we're at Wimbledon Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there till 2 o'clock in the morning. Fucking Jerry Seinfeld. We kept him from 7 in the morning till 2 in the morning. Right? Jerry Seinfeld. I'm the second assistant. I'm just thinking, God, we're going to absolutely fucking get it. So I can't believe it. And he was quite cool with me. He was tricky with everyone else, but he was quite cool with me.
Yeah.
And his call the next day was 8 o'clock. Right, down by the river somewhere. And we had a taxi that we were putting on a low loader. So our call was, I think, 7. And we got his Winnie down there, and I was down there at 7:30 because his call was 8. And he turned up, and 10 minutes before he turned up, I just got onto the production manager and said, "We're the caterers because I'm going to need to do something for Jerry when he gets here because he's a bit picky. He's not picky, but it's America, it's LA, all that sort of madness, or New York, wherever it was."
Yeah.
So we haven't got catering. We're using the cab. All right. So Jerry turns up at 10 to 8 or whatever, and he gets up. "Hello, Jerry. You all right, mate?" "Yeah." I said, "What would you like for breakfast?" He said, "I'd like an egg white omelette with fresh spinach and not quinoa, but something along that thing." I went, "Yeah, okay, all right. We'll sort that out for you." Thinking, "Oh, Jesus Christ, what am I going to do now?" Right. So anyway, he goes into wardrobe and makeup. It's going to be about 45 minutes to get done. So I'm running around trying to get some stuff, and I find a place up the road that's this is 25 years ago as this goes. So this is it wasn't easy to find a place to get a white egg omelette. I found a place that would do it after a lot of talking, and they said, "Okay, we'll get on to it." So, but it'll take about 20 minutes. So I go back to the bus and I say to Jerry, "Listen, I'm really sorry that there's a problem with the caterers, but it's on order and it'll be here soon." So he goes, "Oh, because Sean, I'm pretty hungry because I didn't eat at the at the hotel because I was only there for 6 hours." Jesus.
Oh God.
So he says, so I say, "Okay," and then over the radio I get whoever it was to Sean, "We're ready for Jerry now." And I'm like, "All right, okay, that's interesting." And it's only a 2-minute walk down the road where the low loader is. So I think, right, I'm going to go down and talk to him. I'm not going to do this over the radio.
Sensible.
So I walk down. I say to the first assistant, because I'm going to go to my first. I'm not going to do it on the radio, so everyone knows I'm going to go to my first. I go over. I say, "Listen, this is what's happened. He's not in a particularly good mood. He really wants something to eat. He's told me he's hungry. They've got rid of the catering. He wants an egg white omelette. I've got one coming. I'll have it it'll be here in 10 or 15 minutes. It's completely up to you, but I think we should give him the time, or he's going to be really pissed off." And he says, "Hang on a second." So the director goes, "What's going on? What's going on?" Another American. So I tell him, and he goes, "We got to get on. We got so much to do." So of course we have. You shit to do in the morning. But anyway, then the producer comes over, who's this dude who's moved to LA, but he's English. He's got that Midwestern, American Mid-Atlantic twang. And he says, "What's the problem?" So we tell him, he goes, "I'll deal with this. Oh, don't worry about this," to the director. "I'll deal with this." So off he goes. I think, I've got to see this. This is going to be interesting. So he goes marching off to the Winnebago. I'm following him. He can't see me. And he goes up to where the Winnebago is. He goes right by where the door is. He walks straight past the door, goes to the front of the Winnebago, gets out a packet of fags, lights himself up a Marlboro, smokes the Marlboro, right, flicks it away, then goes walking back round and walks straight back down to where the low loader is. And the person, the director, say to him, "How was it?" He goes, "He'll be out in 5 minutes." And it's like, "Oh, right, okay, that's how it works, then, is it? That's how it works. Okay." It was brilliant. Anyway, he came out about half an hour later, having had his egg white omelette.
Sensible.
From the little gap,
Love
so that was pretty funny.
Love that.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
And it just, that kind of is sometimes the power structure that happens on a film set, and it's finding those the ways of communicating and the ways to figure out problems and solve it. And then when you told me that, I was just like, yeah, it's smoke and mirrors, and it's you
gotta watch.
Yeah,
it's about watching. It's about watching and working out what. Again, Izzy, it's holistic. You have to look at the whole picture. Right? Always, you have to look at the whole picture. Right, and I think that's the trick in being a good AD. If I can call myself one of those, I think that is the trick. You have to look at everything. It's not about the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. It's about realizing how much of an effect that will have, and whether to actually, really be worried about it or not. One of the common questions that people will ask, and I don't know if it's one of the questions that you're going to ask, is, do you need to tell the director when they've got the shot or when they should move on? Right.
Yeah.
And that's, lots of people have got a lot of different opinions about that. Right. Some people would say, yes, you do need to tell them, or you can say, right, you've got 2 more and then you've got to move on. Well, the director moves on when the director thinks they've got the shot. Right. The only thing that you can do is you can let them know that what the knock-on effect is going to be if they, so if you spend 3 times the amount of time on shot 1, then you might be taking away all the time from shot 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Right. And as long as they're aware of that, that's fine. What you don't want to do is not tell them, and then later they say, yeah, but if you told me that this morning, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. It's a common thing. Right. So they just need to be aware. But they're the director. They're in charge of the whole thing. Right. If they feel that they need to sacrifice time from 5 and 6 in order to get 1, because 1 is more important, that's not something I have an opinion about.
Yeah.
Right. It's also, I'm not, and the producer might be freaking out, right? I'm not the assistant producer. I'm the assistant director. I'm there to help the director get all the things from that piece of paper that they can get. And they are the person who's in charge of what's most important to them, not me. And what makes a good assistant director basically boils down to your ability to understand what the director is after and where they're trying to go with it. Yeah. Once you've done that, once you've worked that out in your head, or you think you've worked it out in your head, then you need to hatch up a plan. Right. And that plan needs to get as close to their vision as possible within the confines of all the tools and all the bits that you've got to make it work. Because obviously you've got limitations, right? The other thing that's really important is you've got to give all the other departments time and space to do what they need to do, again, within the parameters of the budget or the stuff that you're working towards. And that's really important to do that, because everyone, if you've got a good crew, is really trying to do the best that they can do. And if you don't let them do that, and if you actually stop them from being able to do that, you will lose your crew very quickly. And if you don't do that, and they all understand where you're trying to go and where he's trying to go, you find that everyone just starts to move forward together. It's like you become a super organism. And that's the really fun bit. When you're optimizing the amount of time that the camera's running, you know what I mean? It's just going all the time.
Clicks.
Yeah, exactly. It just clicks, and you're turning over on that scene, and if you look over to your right, someone's working out the prop for the next thing, and I see you coming onto stage, or whoever's helping me with the next lot of cast, and everything's happening, and you just feel it, and that's when you're doing the job. And that's when it's working well, and it's because the crew is working like not just lots of individuals doing lots of individual jobs. It's working. Everyone's going towards that same vision. Seems like a big word, but it is, because it's the director's vision. It's not ours. And at that point, when it's going like that, and if you've got a director who's happy and they're feeling that they can get the best out of it, that's when you're doing your job. That's when you're being the assistant director. And that's what we have to do.
Nice.
So there you go.
Amazing. Well, look, it feels like we've kind of done a 45. We've probably even gone over, but I love it.
Have we? Amazing.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask, is there any kind of people, projects, things, anyone in particular you want to give a quick shout out to? Anyone that's close to your heart that needs some love?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, well, actually, there are loads.
It's like an acceptance speech at the Oscars.
We're going from 45 to yeah. We're going from 45 to an hour very quickly, right? I guess the main thing of people I would like to have a shout out for is all the fantastic people that I get to work with in this. I call it the home for wayward children, because we're all people that don't actually belong. Well, not that we don't belong, but we end up that we're just people that sort of fallen into this thing and fallen in love with the madness and just fallen in love with what we do, and the aggravation and it is. I call it the home for wayward children. It's actually called the film industry, but the big shout out goes to all those people. The other people I'd like to have a shout out to is the directors who let me come and play in the sandpit with them, because that's really what we do. We get in there, and I'd really like to thank the ones that let me do my job, because that's really good fun when people let you use your skill and your experience to try and achieve this thing that we're all achieving. And that's a really big thing. And, at the end of the day, without the directors, there are no jobs.
Yeah.
So there is without that person getting that job home, landing that job, everyone helps. The producers, all these people help, but without the director, there is no job, there is no fun, there is no sandpit. Right? That's pretty simple, right? Yeah. But having said that, it's not just them, right? So there's all the producers, production companies, production managers, all those people. And the ones I'd really like to thank are the ones who take a holistic approach to what we do.
Yeah.
Because they're the people that are trying to produce a thing, not tick a box or reach a target or deliver something for a reason that's not part of the film. The people who really, really want to do the film. And, they when you do that together with people, when you all share a common goal, even for then it's small amounts of time, they become a big part of your life. They really do. It's not in the trenches, because we're not fighting a war, we're not finding the cure for cancer, but they really do become a big part of your life. And without them, what I do wouldn't be possible. When I do what I do well, I couldn't do it without them. There's absolutely no way, because when I'm with someone who's not good at it, I really, really, really notice. Really notice. It really makes the job very, very difficult. I've kind of already said to the film industry, but it's a shout out to all of our film family and my immediate film family, because I don't work in features, I don't work in dramas, I work in commercials, and there's people that work in commercials, and they make things that seem impossible and convoluted in a way that you just can't think you're going to get there. They get you there. They act in a professional, not only professional, but quite eccentric. They have an eccentric professionalism, which makes life so much richer, because they're characters, and they're like a family. And we do have our family ups and downs, and and we have a lot of aggravation. Without them, not only would it not be possible, but it wouldn't be worth it.
It wouldn't be fun, wouldn't it?
It just wouldn't be worth it. So, it's directors, because if it wasn't them, then there would be no work. It's producers, and production managers and production companies, because without them, it wouldn't be possible. And it's the crew, because without them, nothing would happen.
We are nothing without them.
And we would
really
miss all of the fantastic people and the nutters and all of them, all those people that we get to work with. And that's really, really good.
You know what we're going to have to do now? You know what we're going to have to do? The first job, the lockdown, we're going to have to like give like a half-hour pre-breakfast, just everyone hugging the fuck out of each other. It's just like, I haven't seen you in fucking months.
Yeah. Now, there's something you just said, the breakfast thing as well, right? And I know people say, you know, people drive you mad. The first thing they want to know at breakfast is when we're finishing and all that. But that's okay, because you know why they ask you? Because they don't know and you do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's your family.
Yeah.
And they'll be the one that never puts the milk away. And they'll be the one that, you know, or you know, puts it away even when there's not enough for a cup of tea in there. They're all part of the family. You've got to get into all of those people. They are, you know, they are the thing that makes it worthwhile.
These are the people that are listening.
Yeah, these are the people that are listening. And I'd like to tell all those people that because my shout outs are carrying on. Sorry, bro.
You go. I'm gonna go make a cup of tea. I'll come back in 5.
The other thing we need, and it's been made very clear, and in these times, is we really do need to. Our family, our dysfunctional family, does need people to help us.
Yeah. In
times when we're not quite sure what we need to be doing. I listened to Jay Arthur's podcast. He said quite a lot about Beck too. And I'm not going to say the same things because everything that he said was correct. Mm-hmm. And I would like to say that we do need to have ourselves in a union, and people need to be safe and looked after in a group way, because as individuals, we're in big trouble. I also have a thing that I do, and I don't know if I'm the first person to do it, because I think there's several people are doing it now. But I like to donate my meal penalties to my local food bank.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's something that people can do. It's not a lot of money, and it's a good thing. And my penultimate shout out is
this is yours,
and this is for an individual person, which is the only person I'm going to name in the whole thing, is someone who works on our sets as a on-set medic. Name's Ajay Bhatt. At the moment, he's out there as a paramedic. And he is doing an amazing job. Yeah. And, you know, I'd like to send out as much film family love to him as I can, because he is an amazing man and he's out there saving lives. Him along with the rest of the NHS. Yeah. Ajay Bhatt.
Ajay Bhatt. Doing something for real.
Not only is he out there doing it for real and saving people's lives, but I bet he's making people laugh their heads off on the way, because he's a very funny, top man. So I wanted to give it up for Ajay. And last, but by no means least, I would like to give a shout out for my own family, because this is a business where you go away a lot and you have very difficult hours, and there's lots of things that you have to not necessarily sacrifice, but it's not an easy thing, because you don't know where you're going to be on certain days, and it takes quite a lot of understanding for people to understand that. And I've been supported in that by all my family and haven't beaten me up for it. And I've got a lot of friends who have been beaten up for that, and I think it makes it quite difficult.
Love it. I'm not, ladies and gentlemen, can you see why I love this man? Can you just fucking see why? Like,
you are the lion.
Oh God, I'm all goosebumped up. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it.
You are.
It's just there's so much. It's just so much.
On. Low battery.
Oh. Well, look, ladies and gents.
Oh, we're in.
It's probably been an hour, but you know that you've had a great fucking time listening. And if you think this 1 hour has been great, I've had this for the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fucking years. So you can see why I love getting up in the morning and going to work for people like this, because this is what the film industry is about. And I don't even want to wax any more lyrical, because you know, it'll just start getting too emotional. But look, one love, God bless, ladies and gents. Until we meet again, that is a wrap.
Yes, sir.
Rudeness.
So that was a chat with the king or queen in the game. I'll give it a shout at the end so you all know the name. It's the Film Gods Podcast. The what? The Film God Podcast.